Hello, it's me again, and it's part 3 of me colouring in this Amiga 1000 drawing I did a little while ago. In part 2, you saw me doing a few sort of colour fills, filling up the line art to give it a bit of a depth and a bit more definition. And in this part, I'm hoping to get more done because I do ramble on a bit. This one's been pre-recorded, and I'm actually talking as I draw this time rather than record it and narrate afterwards, which proved a bit of a pain because one, I was watching the video back and you just look at it and you think, right, what was I going to do here? And then you kind of catch up while you're trying to narrate it, and it kind of worked, but I think I got away with it in the end. Anyway, let's get going. First thing I want to do is I want to start adding some shading on this bit here on the power supply unit. Now, when I work, I like to have lots of layers, which are, and I mean, sometimes I use too many layers and I kind of combine them later. Mainly because if I end up getting something wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but you look and you think, I'm not quite sure, you can delete that last bit and you're not really having to worry about erasing anything underneath it. So that's just the way I work. I mean, you can do work on less layers and it's fine. So what I did before I started, I've picked a few colours out, some of the shadings I want to use. So I've gone for a very dark blue for the shadow, and on areas where there's a little bit of red in the casing or on the components, I'm going to go for a very dark, slightly sort of more purpley blue. And I've just sort of done that because I don't want to use black. I never really use black for shadows because it just doesn't. Sometimes it's a little bit too bold. And in this sort of drawing, I don't really think a black shadow would really work. So when I do shadows, I always tint them. Whatever fits with the image at the time. I always tint the shadow to that colour. So now let's get going. Right, I'm in full screen at the moment, so I'm going to switch back to the panels so we can see what I'm doing. As I said before, I do a lot of keyboard shortcuts when I use Critter, so it's just the way I've worked for years. I used to start doing this when I worked on D-Paint, and it just made my life a lot quicker. I could just get stuff done a lot quicker. And you just don't have to worry about keep going up to the menu bar and clicking here and clicking there, and just get to my tools a lot quicker that way. And one of the things I really liked about Critter when I started using it was it had lots of keyboard shortcuts for everything. So for me, it fitted like a glove, the way I work, which is left hand on the keyboard, right hand on the mouse or graphics tablet. Right, I've selected that bit now. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide it using Control H. Select my brush, and I'm going to select this one here, which I've already selected. And it's got quite a fuzzy edge to it. I mean, there is another one that you can use, which is this one, but that's a little bit more sort of thing. But this fuzzy edge is quite nice. So what I tend to do is I've selected. Let's go for the blue. One thing I will say in Critter, this area here, it kind of keeps the last set of colours that you've been using, which is brilliant. But the only problem is when you save the file and you load the file back in again, all these colours have been reset to nothing. And it would be really, really good if it allowed you to say, would you like to save these temporary colours with your file? So when you come back, you've got them. But it doesn't. And there's not many little niggles with Critter, but this is one of them that just... It's like, you just think. So what I did, I tend to do this now, where I kind of do those little swatches bits on here, and I just put them on the base fill colour, on this layer here, and put them on there. And then what I do at the end, I just delete this, or put them onto another layer if I need to come back to join later. So anyway, I digress. Anyway, so I've got this. Right, first thing I'm going to do is make my brush really, really big. Now what this will do is it gives you obviously greater coverage, but it also gives you more the stipply kind of like roughness. So when you see like at the edges, you see it's kind of like all if I zoom in, you'll see all this like roughness, which is exactly what I'm after. But what I'm not after is to have it that sort of deep. So what I'll do is I'll take the opacity down I'm using the keyboard here. That's I and 0. I and O, not I and 0, I and O, and that will take it up by 10% each time. What you can do, when you get down to say 10%, you can go like that and get to 5%, and then when you go up, you go to 15, 25, etc. I like 5 because it's just enough to give you a little bit of shading, and then you can build it up from there. And you can always go deeper later. So for something like this, on the case, the light source is coming from up here in my little imaginary world. I'm going to have it sort of over here, this way somewhere. So it's just hitting the edges, and it's just hitting the case. But I'm not going to be too precise with it. I'm going to kind of be a bit slack with the light source. It's going to be there, but I'm not going to make it so it's really dramatic. So it's almost like it's like a light in the distance rather than being a spotlight on it. So you get much more wider coverage, and it means I can be a little bit sort of looser with the shadows, a little bit looser with the shading, and make it a little bit softer. So the first thing I'll do is just going to go over it like this, and you can see it's just taking it down, like that, and eventually, and then what I'll do is I'll just bring it down a little bit further down the actual image, a little bit down like that, and it'll just mask it down like that. There we go. And what that does, it just creates this very subtle kind of gradient. So when you zoom out, you'll see, oh right, because don't forget, when you look at this, you're not going to be seeing it zoomed in like this unless you want to get a magnifying glass, or you're, look at it under a microscope. You're going to see the illustration at sort of full size. If you buy one of the prints when it's done, they're going to be available in A3. I was looking at A4, but I think A4 might be a little bit too small. I'm not sure. I'll see how people what people say, but it's going to be available in A3, A2, A1. And probably going to do a canvas print of it, maybe. So yeah, so when you look at it, you're going to think, well, it'll just be on the wall in a frame, and you look at it like that. So you won't really see like this kind of level. But so when you're at like this level, you can see the gradient's quite sort of obvious. But when you get back like that, it's more subtle, and that's what I'm after. I'm after that subtlety. So what I do once I've done that, I'm going to put a little bit more on now, adjusting it down, and then I've got this other brush, which is a similar kind of brush. It's kind of like a fuzzy pencil, and I can just do this, and you see that's a bit more of a harder version of the one I've just used. And I'll, again, take the opacity down and I'll put it to 5 like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go in here and just touch the bottom, like that. So you can see what I've done. It's kind of, now I could go a little bit more, so I'll go down to 10 like that. And I'm just going to go all the way along. I mean, it doesn't have to be precise. This is the thing. When I did this drawing initially, or when I started doing the whole series, I didn't want to make them look too technical. I didn't want to do it, one, because it would take a lot longer, and in all honesty, the timescale wasn't there for me to do it. I just, there was a certain budget. I had to get so many of these done in a certain time, and if I'd have, gone into technical drawing mode, which was fine, it would have been a much longer project. It would have cost a lot more money. So, which ultimately would then have had a knock-on effect with the end price, and etc., etc. So, I had to kind of come up with an idea that would work, which means I could churn these out fairly quickly, retain that kind of technical look, but also look like a piece of artwork. Now that there, it's a little bit too harsh. So what I'm going to do, I'll take it down to 5. Just bring it down a bit. What I'm trying to do is create like a little bit of it's almost like a little sort of back shadow there from the PCB, just so it's there. And you're probably thinking, Stu, what are you doing that for? Because it's just too subtle. But the thing is, it's these little subtle touches that really make the difference. Believe me, you sit back and you think, right, and you won't notice it straight away. But sometimes it's what the eye doesn't pick up on immediately that gives you that kind of that depth that you're after. And what I find is, if you're going for something that is really dramatic, then you can go for big lighting and big shadows and stuff. But something a little bit more subtle, it just makes them stand out. And one of the good examples of that is, if you go onto my shop, the designdroid.co.uk, and you look at, say, one of the Apple II prints. I've did that on the Apple II. I've got a bit on the Apple II where there's a power supply like this, and the board goes underneath, and the shadow is cast underneath onto the board. And I wanted to make it so that it looks like it's above it. And of course, when line art, lines cross lines, I've got to then create the shading that gives you the illusion that that's actually above, the object underneath. And again, using this subtle technique, it kind of works. rather than just going in blank and go, yeah, I'm just going to put a big shading bit in here and just, you know, give it a bit of shadow, etc. So doing like this, it kind of just works. And what I can do is afterwards, I can then go back, and if I decide I don't want it, that's a little bit too much, or maybe I want a little bit more, I can go over the whole lot. And because I've done these bits down the bottom, it'll just add to it. So for instance, if I've got this there now, and I go back over it, you see it's bringing it all down, and the whole lot is now taking a deeper tone. And what I can do is if I go further along, I mean, I could for instance go like this, and then like that, and then like that, and it just, you know, maybe a little bit too hard there. So if I just ease off, I'm trying to use the very subtle strokes on the tablet, so it's just bringing it in. And again, it's giving you that kind of very subtle shading. Now, the thing is, you can get silly and go into like the realms of like very, very, very subtle shading, and it doesn't always like pick it up when you print these out, when you get these printed. I mean, the printer does a great job. The guys I use are fantastic. I mean, I'm one of the things I when I set up the shop was I wanted to make sure that when I sell prints of my work, they're representative of the actual original artwork, because sometimes you know you can order something and you get it and you think, that's not really good, you know, the colours are a bit washed out or the finish is a bit sort of bland. And I've had a few of those before. You know, when I was researching suppliers, I went through a couple that just didn't do it, just didn't hit the mark. And in the end, you think, no, I've got to find somebody who can do the job as I want it, because I'm spending a lot of time creating this sort of stuff. And the last thing you want is to, you know, spend all this time creating artwork, and then people say, well, can you do a print of that? And you say, yeah, sure. And you sell them a print, and the print's rubbish. So, and that would be horrible, because obviously it's my reputation. I've always maintained a professional image, and I try to be, even though I can lark about a lot, I always try to be professional in my work. And if I'm going to be selling prints of my work, have to make sure they actually look like the original. Otherwise, you know, what's the point? I mean, you can't sometimes get exactly the match, because you're going from an RGB screen to a CMYK print, and the difference is there are differences in certain colours, so you're never going to get an exact match from what you see on the screen to what you see in print. There are going to be differences, but the key is to get as near as damn it to what you can get, and you can play around with the levels and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I digress a little bit there. But if I zoom in, you can see that there's all these, like, you know, these rough little shady bits, which is what I'm after. I don't want smoothness. If I wanted to smooth this, I'd have done this as a vector illustration from the start, and I'd just used, you know, block gradient fills and you know, all that sort of stuff with the blurs and all that stuff. And I just didn't want it for this sort of stuff. I wanted it to be kind of organic looking. So hence why I like this roughness. And again, when you look at all the edges of like some of these lines, they're all a bit rough, which is intentional. I didn't want them to be. I want it to be a bit loose. So from a distance, it looks like, oh, that's the 1000. But when you zoom in, you can see all the lines are a little bit rough. And I mean, the way to describe it is I wanted that kind of. Do you remember, like, if you photocopied something and it was, you know, you did it too many times and all the details would start to disintegrate, and it kind of, in the end, it looked like nothing like the original. I wanted to get something along that path so that you'd get, you'd get a kind of a sort of a more organic looking line rather than just a very clinical straight line. And that's why this brush is brilliant, which is this one here. You know, it's got like this. It's got this really, really cool. I'll do it on here because it doesn't really matter. But it's got like a real cool edge. You know, it's really rough. It's nice. I like it. So anyway, that's that bit. So now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit in behind here, because this column, because the light's coming in here, the column's going to be casting a little bit of a shadow there. So again, I'm going to take me this one, and I'm just going to bring it in there, just so nice and subtle, not too heavy. And again, it's just to build a foundation of shading up there for the shadow, and then I can add to it as I go. So, I mean, you could go in and just all guns blazing and just put a big dollop of dark colour in there and be done with it. But I'm reluctant to do that, because I like to build things up gradually and just you know, one, it gives me, it's almost like therapy. You sit there and you're like, yeah, I'm going to see my therapist today. Oh yeah, what's he called? He's called Critter, and I'm going to sit with my graphics tablet and just, yeah, it's therapy for what's going on in the world, and just sit and spend some time just drawing. Unfortunately, I don't get as much time as I'd like to actually sit and do just drawing, which sounds crazy, but when you're doing work for other people, and you've got all the admin of the shop and all the normal day-to-day life stuff. Sometimes the time just isn't in there to just sit and just do stuff, and I would love to be able to spend every day just doing this. I have tried it, and the problem is all the stuff that you don't do ends up being put off to the next day, and then you end up with this mounting of stuff to go through, whether it's emails, correspondence from people, and the usual day-to-day grind of just living in the world we live in, and you just think, but I'm working on it. Maybe if I could do some more projects which are self-funded or something. Maybe I'll do a Kickstarter or something, or whatever. My wife says I should do some of them mandala books, and I'm looking at maybe doing one of them at some point, but we'll see. But anyway, so I've done that in there like that, and I'm now going to go in and just put in a little bit more just near the edge. So bring the brush down. There is a trick you can do. If you hold down the shift key, you can actually adjust the size of the brush, which is another quick shortcut, which is great. Saves keep going up in here or using the other keys. Everything in Critter you can use with the keyboard. It's fantastic. I don't know. I've tried other software, and I did use another piece of software called MyPaint many years ago when I was running on Linux, because I used to run Linux for about 7 years, and Critter, originally was on Linux. That's where it originated, and then it was ported to I think Mac and Windows. And I got into it then, but MyPaint was the one I used initially when I started getting into it. And then when I went to Windows, I then used something called ArtRage, which was fantastic. But Critter is free to use, and obviously if you bung them a few quid every so often, because if you're going to use it, at least give them, support the foundation that's funding it, and it just gets regularly updated. And I found that this is the software that I just kind of slot into and just feel really comfortable using. I'm not saying everybody will use it, everyone has their own personal taste. It's like we're doing pixel art, I use ProMotion to do all my pixel art. Other people use Aseprite to do it. I've used Aseprite and I think it's great, but for me, because I made the change from using an Amiga to a PC, that's the software I used initially, which was ProMotion, and I've kind of followed it all the way through, and I just use it all the time now when I do pixel art, and it's just got better and better and better and better. Definitely check it out, because it's got so many new features, and it's not one of these software packages that you buy it and then there's no updates. There's always being updates done on it, and it's great. So as you can see, if I zoom back, you can kind of see that this is now got that little bit of subtle shading in there. I'm going to put a little bit further around here, just because it just adds a little bit more down the bottom. And I always think when you get to the corners, it always gets a little, you want a little bit of a dark corner going on, just a little bit there. Not too much, but just enough. See, like I've done, it's just a little bit there. I'm going to undo the last couple of steps, like that. Now, I should say, when I do this, and I'm not recording it, I normally just hammer through this stuff like lightning. I'll select and do this, but because I'm narrating it, I'm trying to give you guys watching a commentary so that you can see what I'm doing and sort of share the process. Otherwise, this would all be done by now, and I'd be like, yeah, let's get this, and I'll be all over it. So done that bit. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to do the top. Now the top won't need a lot of darkness, because I'm going to be using another layer on there, and I'm going to be doing it on there so that it'll be sort of using a lightness. So let's go to this one. I'm going to put a shade on there like that. There we go. And I'm going to use that for the rest of it, so I can then build on top of this one. Basically what I did is I because I was talking, I didn't add a shade layer, and I've actually shaded on my base fill, which is not what I normally do, but who cares? Hey, it's just that one bit. I normally build these up as separate components, but hey ho, I'm distracting myself by talking. I have to say, when I do normally do this, and I don't talk, obviously, because there's no one sitting here near me. That'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? It's a bit weird now, there's no one here. I normally have music playing, and I'll just have music playing, and I'll just hammer through it. And I was listening to Mark Shreve, the late Mark Shreve, who sadly died not that long ago, and I think he died a couple of years ago. And I was listening to some of his stuff from the 80s and 90s, and that's really good. I love the old UK electronica scene. I think that stuff's fantastic. You know, back in the 90s, used to go to some of the events they put on, and you'd see them play live, and it was great. And I remember seeing Jeff Minter and Adrian, I think it's Adrian Wagner or Wagner. Who's also, Adrian, he's no longer with us either, and he did Merak with Jeff Minter, and Jeff did all the visuals and that. And I remember seeing that live in Westminster. There was a show there, and I went down with my mate, and we sat there and watched that with a load of other electronic music artists. That was great, and you can see, it was a time when technology just wasn't as advanced as it is now, so it was all new and fresh. And I mean, now I think I certainly have become a bit blasé about new developments. I mean, AI, just look at AI and think, yeah, okay, you can click a button, it'll generate an image, but it's pulling the images in off of everywhere and just kind of amalgamating them into something that it's creating, but what merit is there in saying, oh yeah, I've done this image? Well, did you do it, or did you type in, I want a picture of of the beach? And then you haven't really done anything, have you? It's just created an image. But AI is a bit freaky, I think. I mean, I think it could be used for a lot of good, but I think that realistically, it's probably going to be used to be quite bad stuff. Normally, there's stuff that goes that way. But yeah, so I mean, I tend to listen to a lot of music when I'm drawing, and I don't talk, or I listen to podcasts. I don't listen to. I like to listen to a lot of political stuff, which I don't tend to do because I think this is obviously I'm known for artwork, and if I was going to go down that route of being a political commentator, then I would give up doing the art and do that as a side thing and go that way. So I don't tend to talk about politics because it's very divisive, and a lot of people don't like debating these days. You can't disagree with people because you say something you don't like. It's like, oh, you're bad now, and I don't want to know you. And it's like, well, not really. I mean, I've mates with people who have different political views to me, but we're mates. It don't matter. It's like, it's what it's about. You should be able to debate people. But anyway, I'm not going to go off on that. I mean, it's like saying I'm a Spectrum guy and I'm a 64 guy, and we hate each other. It's like a nonsense, really, isn't it? I mean, when you think about it, when you're at school, that's where it stayed. Years later, you kind of think, well, they're all good machines. I mean, I've got to appreciate all the retro machines, especially doing this colouring book, because there's you get to see all the hardware and you get to read up all the specs. And I was pretty on with all the specs when I started doing this, but you get to learn a lot of the specs of the machines that you didn't know about. And you kind of appreciate what went into making these machines. You think somebody sat down and thought, right, I'm gonna make a machine, and you've got some of these off-the-shelf components, and you're kind of putting these machines together. And when you see some of the, I remember looking at some of the concepts. When was it, in the Museum of Computing in Cambridge, and they had, I think they had like this one of the original development Spectrums up there, and you see like the amount of wires and bits soldered in here and bits hanging on there. You think, that's amazing how somebody's just like kind of put this thing together, and then it creates a display, and you can, I'm a software guy, so for me hardware's like just like voodoo magic. And yes, incredible. So yeah, doing these, you kind of get to see a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally get to see. And I suppose with a lot of us who are into like retro gaming, I see even the term retro gaming. I use it a lot, but I think, do I really want to use that term? I mean, it's gaming, isn't it? I mean, it's not like you're going back in time to play them. You're playing them now. Legacy would be a good to call them legacy machines. Even that's a bit crap, isn't it? Really, call them legacy machines. But I don't know. Old machines. There we go. Old classics. There we go. Let's call them old classics. I'm into old classic gaming. There you go. It's like old classic cars. Let's call them like old classic cars. That's it. So, and as you see, I'm doing a little bit of a shade on there. I don't want to go too heavy because I can come back later and do that if it needs it. Because once I add the light into it, then it will stand out. But I've kind of banded it a little bit there as well, so it really does look like it's gone behind. What I can do is if I've gone a bit too much, I can just take it off. So, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to take this edge off here a little bit, just to bring it off, and then that will hopefully smooth it off. There we go. See, I mean, you can get a little bit too carried away with this sort of stuff, and then you end up doing it forever, which I don't normally do because I normally fly through this and just do that. So that's that side. I'm going to put a little bit on this side, even though the light is coming down here. I'm going to put a little bit on it just to give it that little bit of an edge. And what I can do is I can delete that last edge later to give you that kind of that 3D look that that will make it stand out. A little bit like that, a little bit like that. There we go. And it's done. Just smooth that off a little bit. There we go. So, and I'm going to do the same with the top. Now I'm going to switch to this brush now, just to do this, because I want to just delete this area here, because I want to add the shading separately on here. So I'm going to go back to this brush here, and I'm just going to put a little bit in there, and I'm going to take this down, just because it goes in. It's where the screws go in when you hold the case in. Now when we did this, I know the A1000, it's got those amazing sort of imprinted signatures in it, and I tried to think if I could work it in. And now when we took loads of reference photos, Neil propped the case up here, the back, and I ummed and ahed, and I thought, do I put it in or do I not? And it just looked like this empty space, and I thought, do I really want to recapture the signatures? I felt like a bit fraudulent, kind of putting people's signatures on here, so I chose not to put the rear panel in, the case top on. I thought it, from an artistic point of view, it just didn't look right, and I wanted the monitor in as well. So because the monitor was quite integral to the way that I saw the 1000, because you would never see one with it on a TV. You'd always have the monitor sitting on top, and so when we came up with they're doing all these. That's why I thought, I won't put the case in. It came very close to doing it, but it just couldn't find a suitable position to put it in. I mean, if I was to do this now, and this was going to go on a landscape print or something like that, then I could probably lay it out to do it. And I might even adapt this illustration and put the actual case in, say maybe have it over here somewhere laying down, or maybe move the monitor over a little bit and have the case just in the background, and then this could then be a landscape print rather than portrait. Yeah, it's possible, because I did see a few comments a while ago somewhere about the case of the 1000 with all the signatures. So I'll see how it goes. I mean, the great thing is, because all these are all kind of layered up, as you saw in part one, when I was laying this out, you can move some of this stuff about and play around with the layout a little bit better than or not a little bit better, a little bit more than there is already, and just to kind of like finish the look off a bit. So we'll see, but it's certainly interesting to see how some of these these machines are made. Going back to that, I mean, when you look at the evolution, say from the 1000, say the 500, you look at the electronics, and you can see where they've kind of like they're tightening it all up, the specs up, and they're loosening. They've all that looseness that was on the initial design, they've kind of tightened it all up. And as you get further into, say, the 4000, you think, yeah, they really have kind of, the evolution of it is obvious. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, I never thought drawing electronics would be something that I would enjoy, but it's surprisingly quite enjoyable, just sitting there looking at all the components and just getting them all sort of coloured up and drawn, and I mean, I had a conversation a while ago with I can't remember who I spoke to. I think it was and I was saying about, like, when I did all these, it was so sort of funny, because when you look at them up close, they're just like beans or something, but when you zoom out, they're like resistors. And once I had the colour, which I'm going to do shortly, they all start to look like resistors. And then you add the shading on top, and I think they all start to stand out. So it's interesting when you do this sort of stuff, that you kind of you look at it at a zoomed in level, and it looks nothing like the final thing when you zoom out. But it's I don't really see it so much, because I'm looking at it in my head as as zoomed out all the time, because I'm in my head, I'm visualising what it's going to look like when it's shaded up. See, now what I've done now, should have gone a big brush. This is what happens. See, if you go for a big brush, you get much better feel. So what you can do is you can go to a subtle side shade like that, and you're not, because I've selected that area, I can get a proper nice. There you go. See that? It goes nice down there. And I say I'm not after something that's going to be too dramatic. I want it to stand out, but I don't want it to be, you know, too heavily shaded. Just want to get so when you zoom out, it's there. And like I can say I can add further shading afterward. I mean, what I tend to do on some of the other ones is, I mean, if I've got that, so I'm using this colour here at the moment. If I use this one on top of that one, you can get nice kind of combination. Because that's starting to go a little bit purple, obviously, because I'm using a purple brush. But if I put this over there, that will just lift that down into a bit more of the blue, and it'll give you that subtlety of the shading. And there we go, see? And I'll just do the other side. And I'll do that with the blue. And it's funny because you start doing anything, nothing's appearing, but it gradually appears. And it's just like building that grading up, you know, with just the brush. I just don't, you know, I mean, this is the technique I use. I'm sure there are other techniques. And then what I can do now is I can go through the middle, and I can just erase down like that. Just bring that down just to give that, like that. And you see, it's kind of making it stand out a bit more. Now, at the moment, this is isolated, so it's got nothing behind it, beneath it, or above it that's been shaded. So it looks like it shouldn't sit there because there's nothing around. There's no shadow. There's nothing. It's like it's floating in space. But don't worry, that will actually change once once I've got the rest of it done. You know, we can use this brush. I mean, I do tend to like swap my brushes a lot. I mean, you can use the button on the pen to do it, which is, you know, you can do this like that and you can choose it, but I try not to do that too much because I just find I sometimes click the wrong brush, or I just, you know, you can do that. I just got into the habit of going over here. So yeah, so I'm just bringing that down like that. Just bring it. I'm taking off some of the shading I've just put on, but what it does, it just builds up this kind of gradient, and you get this real kind of subtlety, which is what I'm after. And again, I'll do the front, I'll do the top bit as well. I'll go back to this one, erase this bit. I want that to be, so you can see how much shading I've actually added to that. You know, it's bonkers, isn't it? You don't realise when you're doing it how much is actually being put on there. And I'm going to just add a little bit back on, just there, like that, and then I'm going to go in. I should have done this first, this bit there. I'm going to go in and just plonk that in there, shade it off. I'm going to make that dark because you're not going to see in there anyway, and maybe I'll just take a little bit off. There we go, just a little bit in there, just a hint that it's going down. There we go. So that's that one. And I might bring that off, just bring that off a little bit more, because it's a little bit too dark for what I wanted. So just do that there. That's it. Right. Yeah. Right. So that's gone a bit too harsh now. I should have stuck with the other one. See, I've got a bit carried away myself. This is what gets for talking. I'm still kind of learning how to talk and draw at the same time. It's fairly new to me, all this. I've never really done these live videos or these recordings before. Was asked to do pixel art before, and I thought, oh, do you know what? My process is so boring because you don't see anything. My hand's on the keyboard, and you'll just see a load of pixels appearing out of nowhere. And I thought that's surely not going to be very entertaining. So maybe I might do a pixel art one day. You know, I mean, I do these pixel portraits for people. So I've done loads of them. They're really cool. And you know, the process I use for that is quite, you know, quite boring, I think. So, you know, people, oh yeah, you do pixel portraits, yeah. How'd you do them? It's like, well, I'll just draw them, you know. People go, yeah, but how do you do it? And I said, I just draw them, you know. I just look at people's photos and photo on one screen, and on in ProMotion, my software I use, I just sit there and I think, right, I've got a 48 pixel by 48 pixel image, which is the size of these pixel portraits I do. If you're just doing a headshot, and I just sit and draw them, you know. They just appear. There's no real kind of process as such. But you know, I mean, I did have somebody ask me when I did some for. I think I was at the cave when we did the cave up in Stroud, a year or so ago, and someone said to me about, oh, do you have like a plugin in Photoshop that does them? I said, no, no, definitely not a plugin. If there was, I would, that'd be a bit cheeky to charge people just to click a button and go, yeah, I'll do a pixel portrait, mate, and yeah, that'll be like £95. Thank you very much, ka-ching. Right, let's load it into Photoshop. Hit the button. Right, thank you very much. That's cheeky, isn't it? I mean, no, when you buy one, you're getting an actual personalised image that I've created from scratch, which is just my interpretation of your face, really. If you are going to book one, and I'm not advertising, well, I am, but I'm not really. I'm just talking about it in general. But if you were going to book one, just make sure you get me the decent images. I've had some where people have sent me images which are like people off in the distance, and people that look like they've been sitting in under the stairs, and the lighting's really dodgy. And you think, well, I've got to create a good likeness, and I don't know you, I don't know these people. So, just think about what I'm going to be drawing. So when I people book them, just get a face-on picture and a nice side picture, and maybe a three-quarter picture, so I can get to see the length of people's noses and chins and foreheads and etc. But generally speaking, I mean, I get them in, and they're the references are cool, and people tend to like them. I did a cannon fodder one, which I've got to put on the shop actually, so you can sit there in your little cannon fodder uniform. And the football ones have started rolling them out now, and they've been really really well received. Sitting you in your own favourite football kit. I've got to launch the. I've actually got to update the website because I've got to put the canvas prints of them on. There's some more canvas prints to put up for those. But yeah, I mean they're pretty cool to do actually. Pixel portraits, totally different to this sort of stuff because obviously it's a different style of artwork, and it's nice to do this because obviously I'm known for cannon fodder, and I'm known for like my work at Sensible, like with some of the stuff I did in SWOS and Sensible Golf and all that sort of stuff, and that Sensible Star Test was what we did, which is bonkers, and it's all pixel art. So it's nice to be able to do stuff that is not pixel art. It's bit, I mean, I remember talking to Neil at the cave about this, and I said, people just know me as I said, I'm not just a pixel artist. I don't mind being labelled a pixel artist, but it's because I get jobs that are pixel art. I mean, again, if people want to employ me to do pixel art or any kind of work, give me a shout. I'm always looking for contract work. I mean, people have this working out because I just love doing new stuff. I love working with new people. I love working on new projects. And the great thing about what's going on today is you can really do a lot more. Certainly with these older machines, because the tools are much better now. I mean, when we did cannon fodder, I mean, Jules had to write the graphics, the level editor. Nowadays, you've got tiled. If you go to mapeditor.org, there's a brilliant map editor called Tiled, which I've been using on and off for years. I've used it on a few commercial projects, and it's just great. It's just a brilliant piece of software, and you can get some really really cool results, and it does isometric, and it's great, really cool. So yeah, I mean it's funny, isn't it? You look at all these the tools that you used back then, and we also have to write them, and now they're all you just go and find. Usually, a lot of them are open source, which is fantastic. And I say use open source software, but if there's a donation button or there's a a way to support the people creating it, just bung a few quid now and again into the pot. I do that with Critter every now and again. I bung a few quid into the pot, and it just helps it move it along. I mean, I don't like subscription-based software. I think that's just so cheeky. I prefer to buy something. And then if I want to have the next version, then I'll have it. I'll pay for an upgrade. But if the software I'm using is does exactly what I want, then why would I want it to be updated if I'm not going to use all these new features? I mean, that's part of the thing I found with Photoshop, is that you can use Photoshop for years, and they might bring out some new thing on it, but realistically, apart from playing around, are you actually going to use all these new features? I mean, some people will. I'm not saying you're not going to use any of them, but how many people are going to use it all? So for me, I just don't like subscription-based software. I think it's a cheek, to be honest. I think it's a real cheek. I can kind of see what they're coming from with it. And I suppose if you're working in the sort of in an industry where you're using all the latest features, then fine. But for me, just doesn't work. I mean, I'm pretty much stuck in my ways with this sort of stuff, and I use Blender for doing a lot of product renders for the shop, and I've used it for sort of sometimes little profiling some ideas. I did see I did see Blender being used as a basis for some illustration work, which is a really cool idea. You basically make a 3D model, and then you can render that out and use that as a base to draw over the top when you're doing illustration. I thought that's a really cool idea. So you get if you can do something a bit technical, you can get your lines in and get the perspective all correct. I mean, for this, I used a lot of guides, which I think I showed in the first video I think I did on this series. And a lot of the guides in here just allow you to do, perspective, and just do it without having to worry about getting the lines wrong. I mean, when you look at this case, I had like a helper assistant, which put it on perspective. I think my disappearing point was right over here, somewhere right back, and it lets me draw, and you can stick the line to the guides. So when I did it, I got it all set up, and I think, right, okay. And drew these all in the right sort of angle, and worked out how far back this was, and drew it, and it just looked really cool. When I came to doing the motherboard, I kind of winged it a bit. I looked at the reference photo, and I mean, if I look at it now on this bit here, there's like probably about, I'd say, 2 to 3 times the number of resistors here than there is actually on this illustration, and over here there's a few more chips and components, but I've left it off. Just wanted to I mean, I could put some back in, I suppose, but I just wanted to make it less cluttered, because it's it's a piece of artwork. I didn't want to make it like a technical illustration, so it's more of an interpretation of what these look like rather than an exact replica. As long as the case and the actual design is, true to the original, then I think my job's done with it. I didn't want to go down the road of making it, pixel perfect, so that every component and every little nook and cranny is covered with the drawing. Because one, it wasn't a technical drawing, and two, I think it would just be too busy for what this is in the context of these pieces. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty it's pretty close. I think. I mean, it does a good job. And I mean, I've used the reference photos insanely close. I took loads, and I just went in and worked out the dimensions and stuff, and yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm really pleased with a lot of these come out. And the thing is, when you do these sort of things, you end up you're coming up with like a little technique, and then you do one, and you do another one, and the more you do, the quicker you get, and the more you can get through in a session. So yeah, I'm going to do the back plate now. I'm going to do this bit here while I'm on these kind of sort of the case colour. When I looked at the reference photos, this is actually really filthy. In the one that Neil had in, I don't know if this is the one he restored on one of his videos, but I'm not sure it was even working when we got this out of the storeroom. But it was covered in dust, and yeah, it was really filthy. We had there was all finger marks. Well, not even finger marks. It's like all like mark. I don't know if it was finger marks. All on marks over the back of it, and it just needed a good clean. So I think he might have done this as one of his videos, perhaps. And yeah, it was. I remember him taking the lid off of it, and it's like, whoa, that's like dusty, really dusty. And so all the like the metal plates and the covers and that were all just caked in like years of just dust accumulating. And again, I mean, if I drew it like that would probably be quite a cool drawing actually. But it would be out of the context of the intent of these. I mean, I could do a distressed series of machines. Hey, maybe that's an idea for another lot of illustrations. Broken computers, and just draw loads of broken computers. So start with one of the machines that nobody likes, just smash it to bits, and then say, right, let's smash it to bits, and then draw it. So it's just like, yeah, maybe not. So I saw them. What was I looking at Etsy the other day, and I've seen some people are selling machines that have been taken apart, and they've got like joypads are on there, been taken apart, and you can put them on the wall. And I thought, I've got mixed feelings about that, because one, you're destroying a joypad, which they don't make them no more, so that's a bit of a shame. And two, it's like, well, would you really want a destroyed joypad on your wall? Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But anyway, going back to what I'm doing now, as you can see, I'm just lightly going back through this one. I'm just giving it a little bit of a tint over, just to take it down again. And what I'm going to do though is I'm going to change this, and I'm going to go to this colour. I'm going to take it down like that, and I'm just going to bring it down there, and then I'm going to mix the shades, just because I want a little bit of a mixture of the colours on there, but I don't want to make it too obvious, if that makes sense. It needs to be a bit more yellow actually, I don't know. Just like that. Yeah, that's it. Just bring it down like that, and then I'm going to go like that. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase this anyway afterwards, because I'm trying to build up this rough shading look with the I mean, you don't even see it, to be honest, but it's only when you get to see it like that you kind of get there. See that sort of look. So I just love that look. I don't like the smooth shading that you get with vector art. I mean, I don't like it. I mean, if you're doing a piece in vector art, you get it, and it looks quite nice and tidy. But so yeah, there we go. So I'm doing that, and then I'm going to go over it again with the blue. Where's the blue one? There we go. There's the blue. That will take it a bit, and then I'm going to go over it again, and I'm going to erase it. So like that, and then I'm going to just erase and just go over it and just take it off. And what it does, it's weird because it leaves bits behind, and because I'm really going subtle. I mean, you can type things in here. I mean, I could type go to say 3%, and it just takes off even more. But you know, it's because the thing is, you're not. I mean, that's a little bit too dark now. But I'm trying to build up. It's really weird because when I started doing this, I initially just put like a solid kind of shade over it, and I thought, yeah, it looked alright, but it looked too cartoony. And then I thought, right, I'll try deleting. And then when I deleted something by accident, I thought, oh, that's left some of it behind. And I noticed that if I did it without, you know, the opacity was quite low, it would, you know, it would just leave fragments, and it kind of worked. So anyway, I'm going to do something really mental now. I'm going to go back over it with this one. So yeah, you can go like that. There we go. And that's kind of giving it this kind of sort of grey, miserable look. Maybe a little bit too grey and miserable. So I think we'll warm it up a bit. So yeah, and delete the top. You're probably thinking, what the hell is he doing? He's just taking so long doing this, and you know. But hey, it is what it is. Right, let's erase that and bring that down, and then I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Just want to take it up like that. I'm just trying to get it. There we go. That's what I wanted. So it's very subtle, but what it means is when I come in again and I put like a second shade around it, because what I do is I put a load of bits around the outside of these component areas where there's the connectors, because you do get like a little bit of a shadowy bit sometimes around there where the case is meeting the connector. You add all that in, and you add a few like scuff marks and that, and it just transforms. And when I put the edge on, because I put a highlighted edge on, you'll see quite a big difference in the way it looks. Now, what I have noticed on a lot of the reference photos, because I've got this at various angles, there's a lot of finger marks and things like smudge marks on it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just go in, and I'm just going to put the foundation for that on here, which will be like that. So it'll be a little bit there. Let's bring that down. It's a little bit too high. 2, 3. There we go. Just a little bit like that. I'm just going to go across, because it was a bit grubby near the power supply area, and just do that. There we go. And what that does, it just gives you that little bit of banding, a little bit of colouring, and I'm going to go back over it again with the blue, just to give you a little bit more of a there, just around the corner there. That's it. That's it. Alright, now then, let's do this bit over here. I'm going to do this little bit here now. I'm just going to keep to the case shading for now, and then I'll go on to the components. But I think what's bugging me, I'm going to do the resistors in a minute, because I did want to do those on the last video, and I just run out of time. I'm looking at the time now, I'm like, we're 50 minutes in, and I would have had all this done if I wasn't narrating, but It's weird, isn't it? You know, you don't realise how quickly you work when you focus. But because I'm talking and meandering off, it's like, actually, do you know what might be really funny is when I don't do this, I end up sitting there talking to myself anyway. It's like just stick the headset and the mic on and just start talking, and there's no one around. Be weird. That Stu's so weird. He's nutcase really. So right, done that. So let's put the let's do the shading on this bit here. Now I'm going to do the whole lot, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a secondary shadow on underneath, so that'll give you that edge. So nearly went wrong there. Just see that I nearly went wrong, and I have gone wrong. Like I've gone over there. That's ridiculous. So I'll have to come back and add that in a minute. Like that, up to there. But as you can see, like the way that the lines are kind of like rough, you know, they're just a little bit rough, which is what I really wanted when I did this. And I've done that there. Let's put that back on so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, see, look, I've totally messed that up. So let's put that in there. I'll add it. The other thing is you can add to your selection. So again, using the different keys. So if I use like the Shift key, it changes to a little plus sign. If I use the Alt key, it changes. I can go like that. Oh, I don't want that bit. And but actually I do, and you can go back and add it in, which is cool. I mean, there are ways to do. You can select by colour, you can select by region, and you can play around with the feathering options and that sort of stuff. But I just the way I work, you know, I just do it like this because it's just the way I've always done it, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the quickest. But the thing is, when I'm doing it, when I'm actually on it, and I'm working on this stuff, you know, with me music playing or I'm listening to something, I just usually just fly through this stuff because you can't make on autopilot really. You just think, you know, you just become this like machine of drawing, and you just go blah, 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 and it's all done. Right, so now that's done, right, I've got my brush size fairly. I can do this side now. Now I'm going to put that up to 5. Just do that like that. I'll bring that over like that. And then what I'm going to do is this bit here is going to be a little bit lower. So I don't know whether that's because there's a lip here. It's a bit of an optical illusion, I think. I think there's I should have drawn this slightly differently. Looking at it, I should have moved this bit here. It's just how I drew it when I lined it up. But really, I should have moved that about. I might even tweak it a little bit. What I'm talking about is this little bit here. If I go to a different brush, this little bit here, I kept that in there purely for aesthetically. It just looked quite nice. But really and truthfully, this bit, when you look at it, this bit is actually set back. So I can fix that just by using shading, because what I can do is I can then move this, you know, I might even move this line slightly. I might cut this out, move it a little bit just to get it slightly offset. We'll see if that works. I mean, when I went to the other side, I just hinted that it was there. And again, because I used these perspective lines, I could work out by I had 2 lots of lines, one that was going this way and one lot that was going this way. And what I did is I drew a guideline that went from here all the way over to here, and then I did another guideline that went from here all the way over to here, worked it down, worked across, and where they intersected I knew that's where this bit would have met under the case. So I then thought, right, okay, where is this bit? And I drew across there, lined that one up in perspective, and then I knew that it would intersect there, which allowed me to then put this bit in. So I knew that it was roughly where it should be, and it's pretty precise. You know, it's not exact, but then it's not supposed to be. You know, but it's close enough, and that's why I find all these perspective lines are really, really cool. When you've got these guides in there, it really helps. And I mean, if I did it on paper, you know, I'd have to do my disappearing points and my vanishing points, and you know, you put your guidelines in, and maybe get your light table box thing out. And I mean, I've got this really cool LED one, which is a piece of like you know, it's like a sort of acrylic sheet of just clear plastic, and it's got LEDs around the side, and you just put your art on it, and you can shine through. It's great, and it didn't cost me too much either. I got one of those, so I'd put my guidelines and then put my drawing on top of that, so then it would, you know, you'd see through it. And you know, again, you could do it on paper, and it's the same technique. It's just that on here, it's a lot quicker, you know. And if you make mistakes, you can just, you know, you can correct them a lot easier. You know, like for instance, if I turn layers on and off. See, this is a mistake here because I should have done it on this layer, but I didn't. So, but hey, you know, that's gonna bug me now. You know, that's really gonna say, oh, I just can't believe I put in the wrong layer. I sound really kind of like OCD now, don't I? I feel like I've got like an issue with it, and I suppose I really do. But see, so that's shaded that one down. Again, I don't really want to make it too grey. I mean, I think I should have done that in a different colour. Thing with it, I'm trying to make sure that a lot of this stuff doesn't look too bland. You know, it's trying to keep it fairly warm. It's not always about using exactly the same colours on every part of the illustration. It's making something that looks interesting and almost like, you know, kind of keeping it believable. So, anyway, so I've done that bit there. I'm going to take this shade down here. I'm going to switch to the purple, which is that one. There we go, that one there. And I'm just going to bring that down there. And I'm not going to shade the edges. I'm going to leave the edges like a bit lighter, just so that it's there. See, and then I'm going to bring this one down like that. Let's turn that off there. I find that when the selection's on it, it can be quite distracting. So right, now I've done that, I'm going to then bring in. See, now look, I've missed a bit. See, that's not good. Again, I was talking. See, look. So that's not good. Let's fix that, shall we? Then like that. I'm going to have to fix that. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a modulate. I'm going to just put a bit of black in there because you're probably thinking, God, how does he get all this done? I'm distracting myself. That's all it is. I'm distracting myself with all this talking malarkey. So maybe, but if I shut up, it'd be boring, wouldn't it? I could put some music on, but then YouTube would go, "Oh no, you can only use the music we tell you can use." So you know, I could put a little bit of I don't know, bit of jar on, bit of Vangelis. I don't know, you know, Vangelis. How do you pronounce it? It's Vangelis, isn't it? I think. But right, so we've done that. Let's put this in there. I'm going to select this bit. Right, put that in there. Going to select this. Let's make sure I don't misselect it again. You're probably thinking, wow, it zooms in and out like he's on a mission. And I am. I'm trying to shade this bit. Do this bit here. Okay, so now the idea is that I'm going to just use Control H to hide the selection so it doesn't get in the way. So the idea is that I'm going to then bring in some shading down here because this is actually underneath, this bit here is underneath this bit, and I mean, I'm looking at all the photos on the other screen. I mean, if I could be bothered, I would do some post editing and bring all these things in, but I don't want to make this too polished because I don't really have the time to sit and do loads of video editing. So I thought I'll just do it like this. You know, you get the idea. But the idea is just to make it so this looks like it's underneath. So like if I do this now, you can see that's shading the whole lot. But I don't want that size brush on it. I want it to be a bit smaller. And then I can go like down and just do like this. I'll just bring it down like that. And just bring it down. You know. See, it's maybe I can go up a little bit more. There we go. So you can sort of see that it's only doing the bit where the selection is. No, it isn't, because I've just unselected it. What a muppet! You muppet! Yeah. So I need to unselect that. So what have I done there? That's it. Let's delete this. Let's unselect all this. Why did I do that? That's a bit weird, isn't it? I thought I unselected. That's better. Alright, okay, so what's been selected? That's it, right. Try again. See, again, I'm talking away and I'm totally distracting myself. I'm not paying attention. It's really weird when you do stuff. I tend to zone out when I'm listening to music. I just get into the zone, and it's almost you become like on autopilot, and you don't get any kind of distractions, and you just kind of go for it. That's better. See, so that's what I'm after. So I'll bring that there, and I'm trying to build that up. See, so it's quite good. So do another one like that, and then another one. And what I'm trying to do is just trying to give this illusion that it's underneath there. Do it freehand, you know. Let's put it down to 5. So I mean, when it's too heavy, you can't really build it up so much, and it just gets lost. So I just want to just bring it down. I'm going to switch to the blue. I think that might be a little bit more. That's it. That's better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go really coarse, and I'm going to erase the whole lot in a minute, just to tease it up a bit. So when you look back, you see it like that. And then you could actually put in, I could come in and put like a much darker edge, which is what I tend to do on some of the other ones. I just put a little bit of a darker edge on there just to give it a bit of a finish. There we go. Just go through like that, and do the same over here. There we go. So what you do is you end up with this idea that this is actually now sitting underneath that, and then to finish it off, I like to erase. This sounds bonkers, but I like to erase it. So I go to a big brush and I just soften the edges off like that. And what that does, that just kind of takes off the harshness of some of the bits where I've gone in a little bit heavy. So you get this kind of more of a nice subtle sort of gradient than there was before, and it's just there. I mean, in all honesty, a lot of this stuff is probably overdone it. I mean, when you look at the photos of some of these, the shadows are sometimes a lot more subtle than they are in the illustration. But it's nice to amplify that, because you're not going to be looking at solely when you look at the image when it's finished. You're just going to see the whole thing, and then you'll look at certain areas, and your eye will be drawn to something, then you'll be drawn to something else. So a lot of this stuff is going to be lost. I mean, once I add the highlights and I add some little bits of detailing, all these shading areas will be totally lost. You won't see it as they are. But again, it's all building up this foundation of shading to get it to look, sort of near enough to what the real thing looks like. I'm going to do this little bit under here as well now. So let's do, because this bit is. Again, it's going to be in shadow, it's going to be dark, and the edges won't be. So what I'll do is I'm going to put in like that. I'm going to do it so that it's shaded with the edges a little bit more. See that? I mean, I can switch to this one, and that will give a bit of a combination of colours, so it just gives it a little bit more edge. There we go, like that. So that's done. And again, it looks a little bit harsh, I mean, I said before, if it wasn't for this style, I would probably not have all these lines. I'd go over it with these to be highlighted, and on some of them, I mean, when I do the keys, I actually take these off to a separate layer, because the keys have got to be, they've got to be, I think on the Amiga, I think they're black, or they're like a dark grey, the actual details on the keys. But what I did is on some of the other ones, the keys needed a different colour, and so I actually took all the text off and put them on a separate layer, then recoloured them. But I think on the Amiga they're all like this colour, so that I shouldn't need to do that on this one. So yeah, so that's that bit. Now what I'm going to do while I think of it, I'm going to go back and just do these resistors because they're bugging me. Now I'm going to switch to this brush again, which is this one. Okay, so I don't know what colours were on these resistors. I'm going to look at the reference photo on my other screen just to have a look to see what they are. But I mean, there's so many. I don't think they're. I don't think there's any point in me making them look too realistic. But I mean, there's like greens, blacks, blues, reds, pinks. It's been years since I looked at resistor colour codes. I've got a sheet in my soldering box which has got them all in, but I haven't done that sort of stuff for quite some time, so I'm very, very rusty with that sort of stuff. I'm sure there's some of you guys are looking at me thinking, you should really know them, mate. You really should know those colours because I mean, I used to do electronics at school. I still dabble a little bit, but I'm not into it like I used to be. But I'm going to do the colours now. So let's have a look. Let's get that brush size down. And what we got? That one. Right, let's take the opacity straight back up. That's a bit bright, but that will do because it's going to be shaded. Let's bring it down to a little bit more subtle. That'll do, I think. Right, take the brush size down. Let's put them in, and then we go like that. It's a bit too big and chunky. I mean, I did use this one before. I mean, I've used these ones, which are quite nice. I might use that one. Thing about critters, you've got so many different brushes you can use, and you probably think, well, what's the point? What's the point of having so many? And you'll be surprised. You'll really be surprised. I mean, there's some on here which are good for blending. There's some on here which are like kind of mimic pencils. There's some that mimic markers, and they're all kind of like, they've all got their own use. And I mean, it comes with so many brushes. I mean, I've got this one here. I've done this is my colouring book set, and I just brought them in from when I was initially doing the line art for the colouring book, and I modified a couple of the preset ones to suit myself. And but most of the time I've just used all the presets because they're so good that you don't really need to worry about it. I mean, one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to have a go at creating my own brushes, which again you can do. I'll just show you this quickly. There's a thing up here where you can go and you can actually edit your own brush. I mean, you've got loads of different things in here, but you can edit your own brushes and you can do all sorts of stuff. But I won't do it now. I'll do it on the next one because I want to get this done. But there's a fantastic brush engine in Critter, and it really, really does give you a lot of flexibility with applying patterns and pressure sensitivity and tilt and all that sort of stuff. And it just makes life so much easier when you're working on stuff. I'm going to buck the trend there and go on this side. Some of this is, it doesn't have to be realistic because it's just got to be aesthetically pleasing. So, I mean, if I was doing this as a technical illustration, then what I would do is I'd go through and I would have a list of all the resistors, where they're located, what the colours are, and I would just meticulously go through and I would tick them off as I went along. But as this isn't, I can just use a bit of artistic license, as they say in the trade, and do that. So right, let's do that. Let's do blue. That's not a bad shade. That might work. Yeah, let's go for that one. Let's do blue. Let's put one on there. You're probably looking at this thinking, these are so not right. These are absolutely terrible. What the heck are you doing? But as I say, it's just aesthetics. Main reason is when you look at it from this angle, from this zoomed out view, and I mean, even then on my screen, this would probably be equivalent to, say, I don't know, the A2 size print, maybe. A2, maybe A2 version on A1. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at, you're not going to see this. You're just going to see bits of colour, and that's what this is for. This is just a hint that there's colours there. Now, if I did them all the same, your eye would pick that up. You might not see it immediately, but your eye would pick up. But because there's lots of different colours, they all kind of blend in, but they're different colours. So these are just purely just to give you some background, just to fill the background in with a bit of colour. And so the resistors, look at me words. The resistors actually look like resistors and not just like blobs of bonios that you give your dog. So, talking of bonios, they didn't. That was in Sheep in Space, wasn't they? Didn't you have bonios in Sheep in Space? And I remember playing that a lot when I was a wee boy. Right, let's put the green in. Let's go for. Let's try and look at what will contrast with the PCB. I think we'll go for that one. PCB is actually going to have a slight yellow tint when I finish with it. So Yeah, maybe a little bit darker. Like that, like that, like that. Do that one. I think there's usually 4 bands, isn't there, on resistors? I think there's usually 4, but I'm not going to do 4. I'm just going to interpret it as a, like this. There we go. Right, let's put a couple over here, like that. It's quite time consuming, this one. I know I said I usually race through them, but this speed is what I'm doing. These is probably about the speed I do them when I'm not talking, because I don't. I mean, it doesn't really matter, because if I do that, you won't see it because this is on another layer. But if I switch the PCB layer off, you'll see that this is all overlapped, and it's all like it's like a drunk woman putting her lipstick on. It's like all over the place. Look. There you go. Not that I've experienced a drunk woman putting the lipstick on. just to clear that up. It's like, yeah, but I like to try and keep things as tidy as I can. I mean, because I know that's going to be masked out. I'm not too worried when I've filled them in. But and on these ones, I've actually put black lines in, so just a hint that they're because obviously in the colouring book you want to see the resistors, but I didn't do it on all of them because I figured that if people want to colour them in, they can put their own lines in and add to it. I mean, one of the things I did think about doing was doing some cross hatching and doing a couple which were, coloured in or shaded in using just cross hatching or just normal pencil. Get like a 2B or something like that, or not 2B as the case may be, 4B or something like that, and go through and just shade up a couple of the books illustrations, and we're doing it. I am going to be putting some of the. I've secured some limited stock of the book for myself, so I'm going to be putting some of those up on my shop soon. So if anybody does want to buy a book, please have a look. I'm putting it up soon. It'll probably be up by the time you watch this. Yeah, check that out. I will be signing them as well. So if you buy one off me, I will sign each one. And if you want me to dedicate it to anybody, just let me know, and I'll put it in the inside of the cover. Where we go now? Let's do a nice goldeny colour. There. That might be quite nice. This is the bit that takes ages doing these sort of things, because as I said, you're trying to create like a background of colour, but it's subtle. It's not like in your face. It's just there to reinforce the idea that you're looking at a PCB with components on it. It's not there to be detailed. It's not there to kind of to show you every aspect of what's on this motherboard. It's just there to reinforce this idea that there's components stuck on the motherboard. So when you look at it like that, your eyes just sees bits and pieces of colour shooting out as you glance across it. It's not there for anything other than that. So I'm not being that particular about what I'm doing. I'm just putting bits of colour in just to pad it out a bit. And here we go. Let's see like that. And then you can do that, and it goes all wrong. I'm so glad there's an undo key. Right, there we go. And that one now. Should we put one in there? Yeah, let's do one there. Might well keep them the same batch. When I do that, that's because I haven't hit the key to scroll in time for me to move the pen tablet. So right now, what are the colours? Let's do. Yeah, let's do like a pinky. Is pink on resistors? I think there isn't there pink on resistors. Oh no, let's have white. There's like a grey. Let's do a grey. Let's do a slightly off grey. Let's do like a bluey grey. There we go. Put that in. That be on there. No, it's too dark. Too dark. Let's go for a brighter one. Yeah, that's all right. That'll do. All right, put them in. That will highlight it a bit. There we go. Put a couple of those in. That's it. All right. Let's put that one on there. And it's amazing. I mean, when you look back on some of these, you think, oh right, yeah. When you zoom out, you'll see them, and you think, oh yeah, they're actually. It really makes. See, look at that. See, it's not really obvious, but it's there. It's just there. I'll put one on here, just to give that a little bit of a pick that up, and I'll do these ones here. and I think that's the resistors done. That's the resistors done on this, and I've done it on the base layer. Let's put a couple on over here. I don't want to overdo it, but I don't want to leave it, you know, because I don't really want to come back to this. I mean, I might do the odd one here and there later if I you know, if I see something that needs extra. But yeah, I mean that's not bad. That I think that'll do. Have I missed any off? That's the question. Have I missed any off? Nope. Oh, look, there's always one, isn't there? There's always one sitting in the corner, just wants to be left alone. Let's give him a red there. What's that one? Red and an orange. And let's go for white. There we go. Right, so he's over there, out of the way. Right, save that out. So that's that done. I'm going to do the excuse me. I'm going to do the chips next, base level and the chips, because again I was looking at the reference photos. I have to say, I without the reference photos, I would have had to keep trawling the internet, and so you know I did trawl the internet for some of the illustrations because we just couldn't get hold of the machines. You know, they just were difficult. But I just took so many, but it's handy because you can just look at sort of details and think, oh yeah, that's like. I mean, one of them is the chips. These chips are, I noticed these are the custom chips. I don't know which ones they are off the top of my head, but this area here is a different. It's got like a kind of a lighter colour, and the actual chips themselves have got more of like a sort of plumish kind of colour, which is this one, which I kind of looked at the phone and thought, yeah, that's it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select these tops of these chips, and let's just put that on there so I can see. I'm going to put that one on there. Right, I'm going to fill those in because they're actually that colour, or that kind of colour. And then the top bit was this kind of colour. See, I've prepared for this one. I've actually got the colours pre-selected. I'm on it today. I really am. And then what I can do is I can then select this bit in the middle. Zoom in a bit, like that. Go into there, and then I can add. There, and there. And let's do this one while I'm at it. And now, right across. And across, try to make sure I don't go. That's alright, I'll take that off in a minute. Let's go on to here. Well, the good thing about this sort of style is it's loose. It's not, you know, you don't have to be really precise. Which was by design. It wasn't by accident. Because I knew that, you know, when I was doing this, I needed to churn these out fairly quickly, and you know, and by their very nature, colouring books themselves, you know, they're fun. You know, they're to be, you know, and as long as the lines represent the image you're trying to portray, then the job's done. So being precise doesn't really matter, as long as it's precise enough to actually reflect the image, you know, the actual object that you're trying to represent. That's all that matters. So anyway, so they're the chips. Now they, again, look at that. It's totally transformed that motherboard now. Now it's starting to build up, and you can see that the whole thing is now starting to take shape from what the original line art looked like, which is, I'll tell you what, let's have a look, shall we? Let's turn it off. I've got the PCB shade there. I mean, that's what we started with. Apart from the stubbles here, because I did that because I'm immature like that. You look at that, so I put the PCB on. I'm even shading on, you can see the shadings coming on. See, again, PCB, shading, and then that. And it just starts to transform the whole thing. So, you know, you look at some of the illustrations that I've done, and you'll see that they're, you know, I mean, if you go to the designdroid.co.uk, and you'll see, like, I think the poster prints and the canvases are these ones. You'll see what this will eventually end up looking like, that kind of thing, and it's quite nice to be able to go back after doing these and actually colour them all in. You know, and when I did them, I didn't really think about it too much. I thought, oh, once we've done it, we've done it. But then when I did the postcards, because Neil said to me about we're going to do some postcards as like to help the backers, there's an extra tier on the backers, and I did the PET and I did the Spectrum. I can't remember what the other one I did. Did the PET and I did the N64, and I put them on, I coloured them up. The N64 was fun, and it was really good fun. And I thought actually this might make quite a good print. You know, and I did think about it when I originally did it. I just did it as it was just literally just a you know, a contract. Neil approached me. I said, yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. We worked it out, and that was it. And it was only afterwards when we got the postcards I thought, I wonder if these will work as a print. And I got one done. I got the Apple II done. I think it was one at the there was a competition at the Cave, and it was given away as a prize, and it looked really good. So I thought, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, so if you do want one, they are available, and they do look really good. You know, I'm really pleased with the way they've come out. You know, they really have come out really well. So anyway, let's go back onto this. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to do these chips. I'm going to shade the chips up because these look cool. I like these. I like the fact they're a different colour to the normal chips. And even these, I've made them a slightly sort of greeny kind of sort of greyish look, because when you look at chips, they have got that kind of tint to them. You know, I mean, and the old ones, I mean, these have got dust on them on the actual images that I'm looking at, but there is a bit where you can see the colour underneath. But it's cool, you know, it's really cool. But I was looking at there's the reference photo. I've got it on my other screen. You know, like this bit here is actually gold on there. It's got like, so this is like a sticker. It says Moss. What's on that one? Moss. I can't see that. The photo's not that clear. I can't what that is. I don't know what chip that is. Somebody can tell me what that is in the comments, perhaps. What this one is. These are the two custom chips, and I don't know what this one is in the middle. I think they're both socketed, aren't they? They're all socketed as well. So yeah, but this bit is gold. So maybe what I should do is do that as well while I'm here. It's just change this to gold, and it's got like a gold edge as well. So if I put you won't use that one. I'll go for a little bit more of a, yeah, that might work. And I'm going to just draw that in. So the thing is, because this is going to be shaded, it won't really be that clear. It will be there, but it'll be more subtle than it is now. And then again on here, see, I've gone over the line when I've selected it. Let's get rid of that. That's a bit dodgy. That dodgy. Don't like the dodgy stuff. That's not good. Here we go. You don't have to be precise, but I think when you've got something like gold in it, you want it to be sort of fairly within them lines. And then I can then take this and I can draw a line across here, and that will just hint that's on there. Like that, see, because when you look at the actual original, these stickers are sitting on this gold bit. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really that familiar with a lot of this kind of the nitty gritty electronics. So I don't know what the purpose of this is. Whether these were programmable, you know, and they released them. I don't know. I mean, what they put the sticker on at the last minute, you know. I don't know. I mean, let's put that there, and there's another bit of gold across there. Like that. So it's just showing you that these are now on there, and the question is, do I put one on the other side, or just look at so it's in because it's in perspective? Maybe you wouldn't. I'm going to hint at it, so I'm going to do a little selection. So I'm going to select like that, and then I'm going to just do like that, and then I'm going to just draw that over. Right, there we go. So it's just hinting that this is actually stuck on, and it's do the same with this side. Take that down a bit. Yeah, so that then will then give you the impression that these are or some kind of gold. Now, because I'm an idiot, I've actually done that on the wrong layer. See, this is why I like to lock my layers. What a fool I am. There we go. But that's not a problem because there's nothing else there that's been shaded yet. So what I can do this, da, 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 da. Right, bring that in, and I can. That's called shade there. I'll bring that in there. If I put that, you can see that's what that is. And what I can do is I can go merge with layer below. There we go. And now that's on there. You can tell I've done that before. That's why I normally lock all my layers off, because sometimes you get carried away and you think, oh yeah, and then you forget, oh, I'm on the wrong layer, like I did here, which I'm not going to let that go. I tell you, he's still bugging me that I didn't shade it on that one. Oh my word! You know what I might do? I might go back and just kind of do that, fiddle that again, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Right, so let's do the shading on here now. So let's get that on there. And I'm going to do all three of these at the same time, so that now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that brush and where is it? On there, and I'm going to just get the blue. And I'm just going to just lightly go over the back like that, just lightly go over the back. And what it does, it just gives the impression that they're sitting in in perspective. Now, so if I do like that, you just see it. I mean, you can do them in. I'll do these individually, but I think for this bit here, I can just do it like that. And then as before, I can just go back and delete the front bit where I've done it. Just go over like that, and it's just giving that little bit of colour gradient just to lift them up. But what I'll do is on the next layer, I'm going to have like a highlight. Now, if I'll do it now, I'll show you what I mean. If I do like, right. So when I come to do it on this one, what I will have to do is I like to do this separately because I'm highlighting. I don't want the highlight to infect the one next to it. I want it to just basically do this one on its own. So I'll show you on this one. So we can get like a nice light colour. I mean, this grey's not bad, And you just get like a little bit like that, a little bit like that. And then when you zoom out, you get this kind of like sheeny, sort of sheen effect going on. And it'll go further. Now the other thing with Critter, which is really cool, is you get your layers and you can have like the different. I mean, it's loads. I mean, there's loads and loads. I mean, you can go into each of these and there's just loads and loads and loads and loads of different things, options. You can set your layer to be whatever. But in Critter, you can do that with the brush, so it does it while you draw. So for instance, if I wanted to make this like colour dodge it. It would then colour dodge it as I apply it, which is pretty cool. Which is great for doing things like if you on the moment you think, oh, that layer's set as normal, but I want to apply this brush as say I don't know, hard light or something. It will apply that as it puts it down on the layer. So it's pretty cool, which is great for doing highlights and neon. If you're doing neon, it's brilliant for neon. You get a really cool effect, and it's one of these things where you sort of do a lot of this stuff, and a lot of the features of the software you just never use because you get stuck in certain things, and then when you start using some of these other effects, you think, oh, that's pretty good, and then it becomes part of your workflow. I mean, I don't really know a lot about the software. I mean, there's so much stuff that this does, and I'm really just touching the surface of what I do. Again, but I haven't really used it as much as I'd like to. I mean, I've got some plans to do other illustrations, and I just want to get onto it. I mean, I did the logo for Ant and Nick's channel, and they did which was you know, the Caulfields who do all the amazing documentaries. They got a YouTube channel, and they asked me to do the logo and the for that, and that was a lot of fun, and that was yeah, that was really cool. And again, I used Critter for that. That was really a lot of fun to do. But you see, now I've done that in there, and again, it's lifting them up from the motherboard, and it's just giving them that little bit of shading. Now, what I tend to do is when I finish this bit, I will then go in and I think it was this one I used. Was it this one? I'll go in with the white, and you can go in, and I tend to do the opacity down to, I think it was about 30%, and you can do that, and you get this like little subtlety, and it's not even like a highlight as such. I mean, you look at some of these, and it's just enough just to bring a little bit of detail on. And you know, as I say, it's just there just to carry. And now, obviously, you know, when you look at these things, if you're doing it realistically, the light source will be one side, and the other side will be in shadow. But what I'd like to do is I like to do a little bit on the bottom one, and it just finishes it off. So like that, and you know, it just makes it just look a little bit better. I mean, there's this one here. Bring that up like that. There we go. And it just gives you a little bit of an edge. So that's a little bit too much, that one. That's too much for me. I want it to be a little bit more over. So, and the beauty is that you can kind of get a preview before you let go. So I want to come over just a touch. It's just about just hinting that it's highlighted without going too much. So there you go, and then they're almost done. These ones are also, I noticed these have got gold on the images, but I probably won't bother doing that. I'll just leave that as they are. I mean, I could freehand these bits. That's it. And then the same with this one. I mean, I suppose in all honesty, shouldn't really need to do this bit, but it just, to me, it just hints that it's there, and then it starts to transform. You know, and then you get. I mean, I could even do the label. To be honest, I mean, the label's got a little bit of a bevel on there, but it's subtle. But sometimes you can just get away with it, and yeah, I mean that's starting to look all right. I'll do the same. See, I think the reason I do like this stuff is because I'm so used to doing things at a pixel level. I still work at the pixel level when I'm doing this, even though I'm zoomed right out, and you know, it's just enough to give you that kind of little bit of a, you know, a difference. I'm going to get rid of all this nonsense on here. I did that just to show there was some writing. So while I'm in here, I might as well do that now. I think that's on this one, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to get rid of these labels because it's just not right. They don't look right in this context. When it was in the black and white, it was fine. But in this context, they just don't look. It just doesn't look good. I'm going to put some new text on here. I'll draw that in, and there's a few rogue lines there, which what's that? That's from the tracers. So again, I'll get rid of those ones. Got a bit carried away there. Right, and I'm also going to pad this out so that these are thinner, because I'm going to colour these in the same colour as the other ones, and the same with these ones. I think these are stickers. Not stickers, I don't know what they are actually. I've got to look at the photo. But this one definitely needs to be. Definitely need to take that one down. That's just a bit chunky. And also, I think that should be in the middle. Let me have a look at the photo. I shouldn't really be bothered too much because no, it's actually there. They're actually like blobs of paint. It looks like blobs of like gold paint or something. So that's interesting. Get rid of this one. That's it. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I put it on any of the other chips. I think I just left them blank. I mean, I tried to do it so when people are colouring them in, if they want to add their own details, there is room to do that. So rather than me doing everything on it, it's just left for people to interpret it. You know, as I said, like with the tracers, you know, if somebody wanted to come in and put their own chips and things in and fill it in, then that's fine. You know, go for it. The beauty of doing it digitally is, you know, obviously you can remove stuff, whereas when you're doing it on paper, you know, you could tip-X it out or something. Or the other thing is, if you haven't got the PDF, which I don't think is available anymore, if you have got the physical colouring book, you just scan the page in and then print one out. You know, just scan it in, print it out, and then you're not worrying about, you know, doing the book and destroying the pages. So, but I'm going to colour these ones up now in the gold. Let's go back down to me base fill. And see, because I've got the shading layer on top of that, it's taking on the shading, you know, which is why I like to work in layers, because then I'm not having to go back and shade this again, you know. And if I want to make these lighter, so the gold stands out more, which is likely what it's done, then I can go into the shade layer and remove some of this, which is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take this. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of a, delete that little bit there, just enough so that it's a little bit brighter. There we go. And there we go, that one there. There we go, like that. And this one I'm going to do like that. Just so that it's a little bit lighter, because it's still a little bit too dark there, but because I did shade the whole chip. Right, okay, so they're done. I might come back and do some more on these. I might have just add a little bit more lightness to that later. But what I tend to do is, once I've done the lot, I then go back and do a final pass on everything and just pick out a few bits and pieces that need it. You know, so it's there. Right, so I think where are we at time? 1:37. Yeah, I think we're about time to call it a day now. What I might do is I might do the next one as a pre-record without narration, which I said I wasn't going to do, but only because I am taking longer doing these than I anticipated, because I'm rambling on, and I'm finding it hard to do talking and do the drawing at the speed I normally work. So, I mean, I suppose what I could do is I could go into time lapse, which might be a way of doing it, but then that obviously messes around with the narration. But we'll see. But I'm going to just do one last thing while I look at it, and that's this little area here, because I coloured these in after the last video, but I need to shade them in. I was going to shade them in, but I thought I'll leave it to the video to do it, because this bit you don't actually see. This is quite dark under here, and I did actually do another video when I was doing these, and I don't know why, but OBS, I told it to record the window of Critter, right? But what it did, it recorded the audio, and the video, it just seems to record the mouse cursor, but the screen was just a static image of the Amiga 1000 drawing. So all the work I'd done, it just totally hadn't recorded. So I think I did an hour, and I'd already done a load of the shading, and it was like, what went wrong there? And when I did a test, it worked. So I don't know what it had done, but I've done a test on this one, and I'm watching it, and it's actually recording it. So it's weird. I don't know what went wrong. You know, it's very strange. But anyway, on this one, I'm going to shade this in quite dark. Alright, because you don't see any of this. It's very dark. It's under there. So the plan is to go in and then shade these up on top of the darkness that's already there. And because this is so dark under here, a lot of this is just totally all in shadow. You just don't see any of it. So I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll do this bit on here. Let's get it a bit bigger, like that. And I'm going to bring that in. So it's almost like black, really. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to then erase the tops, so it's like they stand out a bit. I mean, that should be grey anyway, the middle. It's like a silvery colour, isn't it, inside the capacitors? But the same with these ones. It's like, so it's like the edges are just being caught by a little bit of light. And then when you look at it, you see, oh yeah, they're in shadow. And just, you know, bring them down a little bit. I'll just do this one. Yeah, bring that brush size down. Yeah, see, like, so they're all kind of like in shadow, and it's just that they're just being highlighted. So I just want to make it so you're just seeing them. They're not really that clear. But let's take that down to 5, just so that it's just picking them up. And what I'll do is I'll go back to the baseline. I want to change that colour too, so it's on a. It's actually a grey, which is, I think, let's go for like a blue, slight blue grey, like that. Maybe go a little bit lighter. That's it. So, because when you look at it, they're just, I just want it so you can just make them out. Maybe I'll do the top of that one a little bit. I don't want to make it so that they're too obvious, but it's just so that your eye just catches it. Just take the top off there and that one. Yeah, that's it. And then we go like that. That's done. Right. I think we're good. I think we're good. I will get rid of that as well next time. That just looks rubbish, doesn't it? I mean, where did I do that on? Did I do it on this layer? I did it on the ink. Oh no, it was on the disk drive. I think I did it on the disk drive because I did actually. I did another fix on this bit here. When I did on the last video, I did this bit. There was another bit that goes down there which I totally forgot to put on as well. So I've added that in as well now, and so there. So that's the process. But as you can see now, we've made a bit of progress on this one today, and it's starting to take shape. The next one I'll probably I might do is I might do a lot of this in time lapse and add it to the video, so you can just fast forward and you will see it. And I might actually edit this one up, so you might see that at the end, and then we'll. Next one I'll do will be a bit more shading, but I've got a lot to do. I've got loads to do on here, and I've got to do all this down here and get the insides done. I think I'll work on the motherboard and all this bit first, and then after I've done that, I'm going to attack the case with a sledgehammer, and and I've put off the keyboard because keyboards are a very, very, very long process doing the keyboards. It's not, I'll say it's a long process. It's all you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You know, you're shading one area. Do all the keys, then you shade the top, then you do the lighting, then you add an extra shading, and then you do like the shadow around the outside, and it's a very, it's something. I'll probably do all this in time lapse, the keyboard. So the next one will probably be me doing that, and I'll probably cut it in with me narrating on top of it. So anyway, I'm just yawning. Oh dear, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning as well. Oh god, and he's stretching as well. You should see me here. It's like I'm being Tarzan. I'm like. It's like... Anyway, thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I might upload the next one within the next couple of days. It's actually Friday at the moment, so I've got some bits to do today. And but yeah, thanks for watching. And if you haven't seen my shop, which I've mentioned a few times, please take a look. If there's anything on there that you like, or you got any questions, just drop me a message on social media, or drop me an email via the link on the website. Which is thedesignjoy.co.uk. The prints do help support me doing this. It's I didn't set the shop up just purely just to just for the fun of it. I did do it because I wanted an outlet to sell my artwork. I spent most of my life doing working for other people, and I've always wanted to set something up where I could create stuff and sell prints of my work, and so it's really nice that people do actually like what I do, and they do support me by buying the artwork. And also there's a Ko-fi page, or coffee, I don't know how you pronounce it, I never did know. Donate a couple of quid if you fancy buying me a cup of coffee, or I've even put the shop on there as well. Apparently they do a shop, so I thought, well, I'll give that a go and sell it up on there, so you can actually buy my work off there as well. And I've got my own sort of a bloggy sort of portfolio site up, which is stucambridge.com. Which isn't really finished yet. It's still a lot of bits and pieces to do on there, but it's starting to take shape. So I thought I'll upload that and leave it and it's a work in progress. I did put a little beta overlay on top so people know it's not finished. But yeah, that's on there, and there's going to be lots of my old stuff on there, which I'm slowly starting to add to the galleries. And of course on the social media, you can catch me on social media, which I don't really use that much, mainly because I find it so time consuming. But I will go on there, every day or so, and if I see like notifications, which I do get loads of notifications, I do try to reply to everybody. So if you do reply or comment on something, I will try to get back to you within certain time, but just bear with me. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and hopefully you'll be checking me out in part 4, which will be more of the same but better. Anyway, take care all, and see you soon. Cheers.